In the ruthless world of nature, size is often the measure that decides fate, a place where the small are forced to bow before the authority of giants. And yet there is one creature that has challenged that seemingly unbreakable rule with a weapon more terrifying than muscle, a will to survive that seems to know almost no fear. That small creature is the honey badger, one of the animals that forces the natural world to stay cautious, even though its size is far from impressive. At first glance, weighing only around 22 pounds, or about 10 kilograms, the honey badger is completely outmatched by the larger animals in the food chain. But the natural world always has surprising exceptions. Much of this animal's confidence in the face of danger comes from its special skin and fur. Nature has equipped it with very thick protective skin in key areas such as the neck and shoulders, helping minimize damage from an enemy's fangs or claws. Even deadly venom from reptiles is not an absolute limit, because the honey badger's body has a built-in ability to resist toxins and recover from serious injuries. The life of a honey badger is a solitary journey, one that does not depend on the strength of a group. It has claws specialized for digging into the ground, turning dry, barren soil into both a safe fortress and a rich source of food. Thanks to this powerful ability to adapt, it can survive across many kinds of terrain, from open grasslands to remote semi-desert regions. To survive in an environment filled with danger, its lifestyle is also highly cautious. Honey badgers usually begin moving through their own world when night falls. The honey badger's flexibility also comes from its wide-ranging omnivorous diet. From insects, reptiles, and small mammals to honey and carrion, and even certain fruits or plant roots. This variety is its answer to nature's problem of food scarcity, where no meal is ever guaranteed. But the most frightening thing about this animal is its extremely fierce defense. The honey badger does not actively seek out danger, but once its territory, food source, or young are threatened, its resistance can explode to an extreme level, forcing every giant to reconsider the price of confrontation. It is small, but it is not fragile. It is solitary, but it is not easy to bully. When the honey badger appears under the shadow of the Bengal tiger, the story is no longer a meeting between the strong and the weak. It has become a harsh reality. Sometimes in nature, the most frightening thing is not size, but a survival spirit that refuses to bow down. And in addition, so you can understand just how intense this collision is, let us explore the other side of the battlefield. The presence of the Bengal tiger, the ultimate predator in the dry forests of India. If the honey badger is a symbol of resilience, then the Bengal tiger is the embodiment of absolute power and solitary dominance. The living space of an adult tiger is a vast territory with strict boundaries. This sense of ownership is established through scent markings, footprints, and other traces left on the ground. These are clear warning signals to any possible intruder or rival. The way living space is divided between the sexes is highly strategic for a tiger's survival. A male tiger's range is much larger and more expansive. Meanwhile, a female tiger's territory is closely connected to areas with food sources and safe den sites, where her cubs can take shelter. In the solitary world of tigers, the period when a mother tiger raises her cubs is almost a rare exception to the usual distance between males and females. Bengal tigers are usually active at night or around dawn. Their ability to approach hoofed animals such as deer or wild boar provides a major food source within their ecosystem. The nutrition gained after each hunting cycle can sustain a tiger for many days. The time after a hunt is usually a period of rest inside dense bushes before a new cycle of survival begins. But even though it stands near the top of the food chain, the Bengal tiger is not an invincible creature. It still has to face hunger, territorial competition, habitat loss, injuries, and threats from humans. For a solitary predator, any serious wound can come with a very heavy cost. And then, the unavoidable clash between the honey badger and the Bengal tiger finally appears. At the entrance to the honey badger's den, the life or death boundary of the female honey badger, the difference becomes almost suffocating. On one side is the Bengal tiger, carrying the weight and authority of an apex predator. On the other side is a small life weighing only about 22 pounds, which is about 10 kilograms, seemingly far too fragile beneath the giant shadow falling over it. In that moment, death is no longer some distant idea. Death is very close, ruthless, and without any chance for negotiation. The outcome seems already decided. And yet, nature always knows how to create contradictions that make every situation unstable. The presence of the male honey badger is the biggest variable, turning the confrontation into something far less simple. From a tiny target, the Bengal tiger suddenly has to face a much greater risk. Pressure from two sides, created by two creatures with no advantage in size, but with enough stubbornness to turn absolute power into an exhausting trade-off. This is not a fair contest, nor is it some romantic act of defiance. It is the harsh reality of nature, where life is defended through endurance, instinct, and the price each side is willing to pay. The Bengal tiger is still the Bengal tiger, powerful, overwhelming, and almost impossible to deny. But the pair of honey badgers are no longer simple prey. They become a small but thorny boundary, forcing the stronger predator to pay a price if it wants to cross it. Then, the cruelty of nature finally speaks. When the gap in strength is too great, just one wrong moment is enough to shatter a fragile hope. The outcome is decided when the male honey badger pays a tragic price with his own life, a painful loss in a forest that has never stopped for anyone. But in that very loss, the most extraordinary part of survival instinct appears from the female honey badger. She does not continue to get dragged into a meaningless confrontation. Behind her is still the den, the helpless young lives that cannot yet protect themselves, and the only future she can still preserve. So her choice is not cowardice. It is the survival wisdom of a mother in a world with no room for mistakes. The Bengal tiger keeps the victory of the strong, but the female honey badger keeps the chance of survival for the next generation. In nature, not every victory is measured by who overwhelms whom. Some victories are quieter, but far greater, surviving after loss and continuing to protect what cannot yet stand on its own against the storm. Giving ground to the Bengal tiger in order to protect her young is a decision driven by instinct. But the natural environment around the honey badger also includes the presence of many other animals, such as bears, leopards, wolves, venomous snakes, and more, each with very different traits. First, there are bears. These are large animals with strong claws, and they are often attracted to energy-rich food sources such as honey, insects, or ripe fruit. For the honey badger, a bear is not only a larger opponent, but also a heavy pressure in areas where food sources overlap. However, in nature, every struggle must be weighed against energy and risk. And an appealing food source like a honeycomb may sometimes no longer be worth it if it means facing an animal as stubborn, hard to control, and exhausting as a honey badger. So in some cases, a bear may choose to leave and look for another food source. Alongside bears, leopards are also a serious threat in the honey badger's habitat. Leopards are flexible and highly adaptable, but the honey badger is not the kind of prey that can be easily controlled. Its thick skin, sturdy body, and powerful defensive instinct make it a much riskier target than its small appearance suggests. For a solitary predator like a leopard, any clash that could cause injury may affect its ability to survive later on. Because of that, the honey badger is usually not the first choice when easier prey is still available. Another kind of pressure comes from pack-hunting predators, such as dahols, jackals, or hyenas in some other regions. Numbers are always a frightening advantage in nature, but the honey badger is not a creature that can be easily forced into submission, just because it is under group pressure. Its defensive odor, tough skin, and stubborn courage make it a far more troublesome target than its actual size suggests. For pack predators, a small but overly difficult prey animals is sometimes not worth the continued trade-off. With venomous snakes, the danger comes from venom, something that can leave many small animals with almost no chance of survival. The honey badger is not immortal against venom, but its body can tolerate toxins from certain snake species better than many other animals. In dangerous situations, this ability gives it a much higher chance of recovery than many other small mammals. That is exactly what makes venomous snakes a familiar part of the honey badger's risky life of foraging. Every animal in nature has its own advantage. The tiger has strength, the bear has weight, the leopard has speed, pack predators have numbers, and venomous snakes have venom. But the honey badger has its own weapons too: endurance, tolerance, flexibility, and a powerful instinct for self-defense. Thanks to these things, it can survive in a world full of creatures that are larger, faster, and more dangerous than itself. So, in this wild natural world, the honey badger is not the biggest, the fastest, or the strongest creature. But it is clear proof that survival does not belong only to giants. With its endurance, adaptability, and powerful instinct for self-defense, that small honey badger has turned itself into a target that is not easy to bring down. And if you want to discover more strange creatures in the natural world, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe to the channel so you will not miss the next videos. Goodbye and see you again.